Welcome to the Elevate Your Event podcast, where we talk about how to plan and execute an unforgettable event that will dazzle your guests and generate more income for your organization. From fundraising and securing trendy auction items to event production and logistics, get the best tips and advice from seasoned fundraising and event professionals who have been in your shoes.
Welcome back to the Elevate Your Event podcast, where we talk about all the various ways that we can help you make your next fundraising event even better. And this is a special episode. This is what we're calling our grab bag episode. And so we brought in some event experts to help us kind of work through some of the things that have come up in customer conversations and questions we've gotten from you guys. So in the studio today, we have, introduce yourself.
Lori Mackay.
Lori Mackay. So Lori is on our client services onboarding team, and she goes to a ton of events. And so some of these stories probably came in from her in our little grab bag. We also have Kristen Wheeler.
Hi.
Kristen makes all the trains run on time at Handbid, especially this podcast. And we love to have her in the studio because she has been involved in a number of fundraising events as well. And we've got so normally Diana Dupont-Shea is here. So unfortunately, she couldn't join us today. So I have to be the one with the list.
You have a list. The to-do list. You finally have a list.
And Diana made me promise I'd bring a list, so I did.
So that would be step one in event planning, is having a list.
It's having or knowing somebody that has a list. Mm-hmm. There you go. So my wife is an amazing list person, and she likes to she's the type of person that will put the thing on the list just to check it off.
That is so me.
I'm one of those. Just that satisfaction of drawing
and it's
the
all on
line
paper
through, or the check mark. Oof.
Well, here's the big deal. I am not a paper person, so it's on my phone. I have the digital list here. My wife is a paper list person. So is Diana, and with the pink pen. And I don't have the pink pen or the paper list, but I've got some great stuff we're going to talk about. So again, these things that we're talking about today, these are things that have come in from viewer comments and questions or from our service team. And also to remind folks, we've mentioned this before, regularly on a weekly basis, we meet as a team to discuss things that have happened at previous events. And these aren't, necessarily technology related things. These are logistical related things where sometimes it maybe changes how we train our clients. It could also, warrant or, maybe prompt some sort of change to our software or an enhancement to our software to kind of help folks along, depending on what we're running into. But let's go through these today. And as you can imagine, no surprise to many of you, two of these have to do with check-in. As our favorite topic.
We get the most questions about check-in.
Check-in brings the most stress.
Registration, check-in.
Don't you think?
I know, yes. And the funny thing is I was at an event the other night, and I was more stressed at checkout.
It's true. It can depend on the event.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, everybody was hammered, and it was like I was worried about them dropping their stuff, and I was like, I really don't want to hand this to you, ma'am. I really want to walk this to your car for you, and I don't want you getting in that car anyway. But anyway, so let's go through these, and then obviously, if you're listening to this podcast and you feel like you need us to cover something on a future event, we're happy to do that. Okay, so the first one was actually an event I was at, and this is related to something that you had suggested, Lori, that we implemented. And it's called tiered check-in, okay?
Not tiered, like crying.
Don't cry at check-in.
Yeah, don't cry. Tears of joy check-in is what I call this one. Tiered is in T-I-E-R-E-D, tiered. So it was interesting. So there was about 300 or so people at this event, maybe 350. And they came and they gave us 3 check-in volunteers, and then we had a staff of 4. And what we did with them is we put one of our leads in the back on a table with a laptop who was just kind of handling escalation issues. And we put all 7 people on iPads. One was on an iPhone. The other 6 were on iPads, all equipped with card swipers, greeting people at the door.
Nice.
Yes. And what was so you have to kind of imagine this was not a majorly big area. Okay. So the atrium foyer area was not huge. I probably would have laid out and designed this event a little bit differently, but either way, there was enough room in there for us to do this. And so I'd say about 20, 30 minutes into check-in, it's running really smooth. I mean, people are coming in, they're getting checked in, they're getting a glass of champagne, they're moving on. It's awesome. Okay. And so our client comes up to me and she says, what's going on? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I'm just not used to this. Where are the laptops and the lines? And I was like, oh, we're doing a tier check-in.
That's our new coined phrase.
Thanks to Lori Mackay. And I said, hey, look around. I said, what do you see here? Within 5 seconds of somebody walking in the door, they're being greeted and checked in. That is how well this is working. And their volunteers loved it for 2 reasons. One, they were standing up, chatting with people face to face. And this one lady's like, I'm a hugger. And I just hated last year. I was behind the laptop and I'd have to stand up from the table and reach over the table to hug my friends that came in. And now I just get to hug them and we get to hang out. She said, but the other thing I loved is that they get to watch me check them in. And so if I can't spell their name, I just hand them the iPad and they do it. Or they get to see me and correct me as I'm doing it. And she's like, and everybody feels like I'm not behind some magic screen they can't see, that it's like, it's very transparent. And they absolutely loved it. So, okay, so it's running smooth. And then I'd say maybe 10 minutes later, she comes back in and she's like, okay, I'm totally fine. It's just different.
Yeah, you got to get past the laptops on a table and people looking down at you, to get checked in, and you're looking up at them like, hi, what's your name? It's just so much more personal when you're looking at somebody eye to eye. And not to mention, like Jeff said, the ability to be able to greet people, meet them right when they walk in the door, because there's that other aspect that we've talked about with running an event where people don't necessarily know where they're going.
Right.
So you're taking that away immediately. As soon as they walk in, you go to them. And so it just makes you mobile. It makes you more approachable.
And I think people really liked it. Yeah. So at one point I became the greeter. They had a greeter, and then this greeter met somebody they knew.
And they were gone.
Stop doing the greeter job. Definitely don't put that person in the front door if they know everybody. That's a side topic. Maybe a grab bag future one. But Anyway, so I was the one saying, hey, welcome to the event tonight. Hopefully you guys found a good place to park. We're here to get you all registered and checked in. And then I would look around and be like, Jason's going to help you. Right over. And then I would escort them over to Jason. Jason would check them in, and it was all perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that we needed to do, I would say differently, was make sure that, especially on the volunteer side, that once they were done checking them in, it's time to move them on.
Yeah.
Because how are the kids? What'd you guys do last night? I think I saw you at the gym. So there's a little bit of that going on, and that's just a training issue. Just and that wouldn't change at all if they were sitting behind a laptop anyway.
Right. Agreed.
Now, the first question that's obviously going to come is, what if I'm handing out custom paddle numbers?
Ooh. Well, I worked an event that, this is funny. It was a cowboy event. I think it was a concert, big concert. They made their paddle numbers, and it just happened to work out this way. They actually were the size to fit in your back pocket. So I just had a bunch of paddle numbers in my back pocket. I pulled them out when I needed them, because typically they're 5 by 7. Roughly.
They're big, and then people fold them, and then they lose them. And I'm with you on that.
These were like, what would this be? 3.5 by 5? Roughly?
Yeah, they look like fat tickets. And
yes, a fat ticket size.
Yeah, and we had an auctioneer here in Denver that did that once, and I thought it was awesome because they did fit in your back pocket. He regretted it because he's an old man and he couldn't read them.
These worked out really good.
That's
they were
what
like
bit spotters are for.
Yeah, bigger, like a bigger postcard, like a long postcard.
Yeah.
And then they had their program and their agenda on the other side. So it was really convenient. And so we were able to just pull them out and do that. But I like having cocktail tables available for check-in as well. So you can have, your paddle numbers on the cocktail tables. I put my paddle number underneath my iPad. No big deal. It seems to be pretty manageable to be able to do that.
Yeah, and to your point, if you're standing and you don't want to have to kind of manipulate an iPad or an iPhone with a stack of paddle numbers, because you can manually assign paddle numbers at the door. Just have a stack with you, and whatever the number is, just type it in and you're done. Having those high top, kind of cabaret cocktail tables works for that. And then we like to stagger them, kind of the front ones are a little farther in and then they go farther back so you can kind of get people in the door easier. So, and I think the other thing that works well and is critical to a tier check-in is that greeter at the door,
yes,
shuffling people to people who can check them in.
Yeah, so. I worked an event Gosh, it was a luncheon event a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And we had 450 people coming in a matter of 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Luncheon
So-
events are busy. They're busy check-in.
Very busy check-in. Can be chaotic. People can be in lines for longer than they need to be. So we ended up doing the tiered check-in kind of concept as well, where we had the people in the front and then all the way to the back, and it just worked beautifully. It was super fast. They were very content, but it required, believe it or not, Jeff, 2 line marshals because of how narrow the venue was. So you had one line marshal at the door waving at the other line marshal who was able to say these spots are open, because we had about 15 check-in volunteers, which if you're doing a 1-hour check-in with 450 people, you need about 15 people to help you with that. So it made it really quick. I don't think there was a point at all in that entire check-in that there was a line. So
That's awesome.
And the other thing that's wonderful about the tiered check-in concept, if you do have a venue that's a little bit wider and maybe has a little bit more space, I like to pull groups of people off to the side and stay in their little group for check-in, and I just check in the whole group right there. And we pull them off to the side so they're not clogging. You know, groups are known for clogging and they like to stand and drink and talk and chat and and I'll be like, why don't you just all come right over here and just bring them off to the side. So you just train your volunteers to do that, and then it clears the space for the other people as they're coming in as well.
Hey, so just want to let you know this event is brought to you by Handbid. Handbid is mobile bidding and auction technology software built by fundraisers for fundraisers. So we're able to help you guys with everything from ticketing and registration to mobile bidding to live auction recording, appeals, you name it. And the nice thing is in addition to the software that we're able to provide, we have a ton of services we can offer you. If you need help getting everything set up, if you need coaching, if you need just counseling and advice on how to get through your event, if you need someone to show up and make sure that it runs smoothly, these are all the types of services that we offer. So if you want more information about what we do, click on the link below or reach out to us at handbid.com and we'd be happy to talk to you.
What about name tags at check-in?
Oh, you just said a bad word.
Kristen,
You threw that out there.
I knew they had thoughts. I just like to stir the pot.
no name tags at check-in. None. 0.
So look, I mean, it's a trade-off, and you know we've worked with plenty of people that obviously see the value in donor development out of events, and it's nice to have name tags so that you can tell your board members you need to go meet with Kristen, you need to meet with Lori, and you need to meet with Jeff, and then they don't have to hunt around with a Facebook looking for you. They just can find the name tags. I get that, okay? However, they are a disaster at check-in in most cases for a variety of reasons, and I don't care how intimate you think you are with your donors, there's still name tag issues. But that could go on to that's a good segue into our next grab bag topic, which was this idea of a check-in where you don't even talk to anybody. They just kind of flow right in. And this comes out of an event. I have not attended this many events, you guys. I don't know how long it's been. Okay. It's been kind of fun to get back into it. I did attend this event. And so we get there, and of course there's name tags everywhere. And I'm like, okay, here we go. All right. And then I was also met with we have already pre-registered everybody. Everybody's paddle numbers on the table. People are literally just going to come in, grab their name tag, and they're going to go sit down, and there will be absolutely no line and nothing going on at check-in.
How'd that work?
It didn't. So when we tell you don't pre-register people, it's not just because our software doesn't handle it well. Our software will pre-register anybody you want. It's because it doesn't necessarily work the way people think it's going to work. This concept of everybody's going to walk in the door, nobody's going to have to talk to me, they're all going to be pre-registered, they grab their name tag, their table numbers on the back. It sounds so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's walk through what didn't work, because what didn't work is what we predicted would not work. And it's a combination of things. So the first thing is that you've now pre-registered 2 people, right? So walking in the door is Adam and Lori Mackay. And so there's Adam Mackay and Lori Mackay's name tags, and they've been pre-registered, both of them. And they have 2 paddle numbers. And most guests their couples don't want 2 paddle numbers, okay? And one of them has a credit card on it, and the other one probably doesn't. And so, okay, which one does? I got to look that up anyway. Okay, so you walk in the door and you're like, "Hi, we're Adam. Oh, look, you're on the, you guys are awesome because you pre-registered table. So which one of you registered a credit card?
Right.
And they look at each other, and Lori would go, it was definitely me, right? And 9 times out of 10, they're probably right. And we look it up, and we're like, nope. And Adam go, yep, it was me. And so we have to look up the other paddle number and say, oh, the credit card's on that one. Okay, so we have choice, guys. So, Lori, we can add a credit card to your account so you guys can bid, or you guys can just bid under Adam's account. And, okay, well, we don't want 2 accounts. I'm sure you didn't want 2 accounts. We didn't make that decision for you.
You don't have that choice.
That decision's been made for you.
Yes.
And so that was one issue. And so what's at the table? 2 different paddle numbers. They forget which one is which. They're all, they're not going to look on the back of their name tag all the time. So, we had plenty of people showing up at the end of the night with 2 bills.
Yeah.
And then we got to move, purchases around and all that kind of stuff, which it's not hard, but for guests that want to check themselves out, it is hard because now they come to you saying, well, I really don't want 2 credit card transactions. I really just want 1. I want it under this account. Can you move everything over here? Okay. So now you're having guests come to check out, and that was supposed to be avoided. That was the first thing. So the other problem that we ran into was people were told, hey, we've pre-registered you, but we want you to go in and add a card on your own. Okay. Because they can't capture cards in advance. So, yes, I'm going to pre-register, Adam and Lori Mackay, but I'm going to email them and say, using the email address I just emailed you, go into one of your accounts and add your card. Okay. Well, guess what? They didn't use that email address. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they go in and they register a completely different account under a completely different email address. And there is no software in the world smart enough to know that, fungirl22@gmail.com is the same as, did I just reveal your email? I'm really sorry.
Don't everybody email
Don't
me.
email fungirl22.
Is the same as Lori at handbid.com. So, that's the problem.
And
right?
now you have my
And
email.
now
Yeah. So, that's another challenge, right? So then they're like, I know I registered online. I look right here, and they'll pull out their Handbid phone and they'll show me, and I'll look at it and go, oh yeah, you did under a different, paddle number. Okay. So then we say, okay, well, you have your credit card under that one. So that's probably the one you should have. Unfortunately, I got to move it because I already put one at your table. I could have handed you one right there. It would have been perfectly fun and easy and done. But unfortunately, your paddle number was at your table. So now I got to go into your account and switch your paddle number to the one that's at your table. So again, just another step in this whole goal of not talking to anybody. We are talking to people.
Which I don't get anyway, because I think you can look and view check-in as an opportunity to welcome your guests and set the expectation of how the evening's going to go. So why wouldn't you want to welcome them? Why wouldn't you want to make their experience a little smoother and a little bit clearer for them as they come in? So, I'm all about the concept of a self-registration, scanning QR codes and registering and signing up for a silent auction, but only in the case if you're not handing out paddle numbers. If you're handing out paddle numbers, then use it as an opportunity and reframe how you're thinking about that in your mind so that you're using it as an opportunity to welcome people and to get people what they need to be successful to bid in your fundraiser.
Yeah. And why not the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
Why not go online, register yourself, let Handbid pre-assign some random paddle number you're never going to use, show up at the door, welcome Adam and Lori. I see you're already registered. You already have a card on file. Here's your paddle number. Literally, that's all you're doing. And it's over.
So quick.
That.
Well, and I think regardless of how you choose to do check-in, if I'm a guest at an event, I want check-in not only to be a welcoming experience, but I'd like to know that you are expecting me. You have been expecting me. So whatever that process is, whether you've done it in advance or you have everything ready, oh, yes, I see you here. Welcome to the event. Your table is this way. Or please feel free to grab a drink on your way in.
Right.
I like to know that you are expecting me. So if there's a snafu at check-in, it's like, well, we don't see you on the list. Then there's this feeling of this guest all of a sudden feeling awkward or insecure or vulnerable. What do you mean? I paid my ticket. I did this. I did that. Right. I think just whatever process you choose, it's important that guests feel seen and known and that you're expecting.
Well, I think you brought up something important, and that is when you've made decisions for your guests, and then you go ask them to do something, and they make a different decision, they're going to feel like they did something wrong.
Yes.
Right. That's a
Right?
good point.
And don't make that decision. Let them pick the email they want to use. Let them pick the phone number they want to use. You're not saving anybody any time. I get it. So you don't want an empty guest list where you're having to type in a bunch of emails and all there. No one disagrees with that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but there's ways to do that don't mean you going in and doing it for them. And that's where I think the big distinction is. Because, or if you are, I'm never going to say you should do this, but if you did that, don't tell them to go online and register themselves in at the same time to add their credit card. I mean, that makes it even worse. So I would say that what the other big final thing that was a challenge with this one is that the data wasn't always right. And so emails were mistyped. They never got any information. So we're having to go in there and fix that. Or worse yet, their name tags weren't on the pre-registered table and they should have been. And if you want to, or you want to frustrate your guests, tell them that, hey, we're going to put your name tags on this table, and this is the you guys are rock stars table, and then they did everything you asked them, and then you didn't put their name tag on the rock star table. Yeah. So it's no big deal. Like, people are pretty gracious and they're fine. And it's like, I got you. I'll go find your name tags. It's all good, right? And they go over there and they're you hand it to them. And then I had to every time we handed out name tags, we gave them the speech. Okay, on your table are 2 paddle numbers. You need to pick one to bid under. Mm-hmm. If you bid under both, it's totally fine. You're going to get 2 bills. So you guys decide. Okay, right? They appreciated that because I would say 90% of the time, probably higher than that, a couple's going to bid under one account. That's all they want, right?
Well, I had one organization that didn't want to hand out paddle numbers at check-in because it was at a big museum and they thought it was going to be too cumbersome for them to carry around a paddle number while they're touring this museum on their way to the actual dinner venue part. So they decided to put paddle numbers on the tables, but they were blank. And then they asked the guests to write their paddle number on the paddle.
Just a random paddle number?
Oh, no. They had to figure out on the software where their paddle number was. Oh, boy. And of course, nobody did it. And so then when it became the paddle raise, people weren't raising their paddle, they were raising their hand, and then we didn't know who gave what. And it was just this really crazy time. So, I
have a better idea. I have never tried this, but tell me what you think of this. So maybe it's not a better idea. You haven't said.
He has an idea.
I have an idea. So what if you delivered the paddle? Ooh. So, because guests don't like to carry them around, especially if you're in a museum. They're going to go around with cocktails. So what if you just had a check-in queue? So as your guests were getting checked in and they were getting assigned paddles, okay, they don't care unless they're going to an iPad what their paddle number is until you do a live auction or appeal. So you could have a queue that would say, here's 101, 102, and 103 with these last names, go to table 12. And just have runners go put them out on tables.
Or on big envelopes with table 12, and then you put all the paddles for table 12 in the envelope, and then you have runners deliver it.
Yeah.
I actually like that, Jeff. I might try to see if I can implement that in my next applicable event.
Don't come asking me for a raise if it works.
I will let you know if it doesn't. If it does work, it's all my idea.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to try, and we've talked about because, in our software, we have the ability to, using some third-party tools, we could literally have text flying out to auction managers every time someone checks in, or it could be a Slack channel, or it could be whatever it is. It could be a Google spreadsheet. But how fun would it be is as people are checking in and they're getting assigned paddles, it's like, Lori Mackay checked in, table 12, paddle 102. And someone just sees that, grabs paddle 102, takes it to table 12 and writes Mackay on it, puts it on the table.
Love it. Now that's service. But they're still getting checked in. They're still getting some sort of welcoming greeting. And you can check in, again, multiple ways. I mean, I definitely lean against the table with the laptops lined up with I like a more casual check-in, a little bit more relaxed check-in. But back to what we were talking about with name tags. So I don't hate name tags at events, but I do hate them at check-in. So I do like, I've worked that one. I've worked
You
in
just want
event.
to put it at their table?
No. I like it where we've talked about this tiered check-in concept. I like it where check-in is like you're doing different things and you're checking in, but you don't really know you're getting checked in. You're just kind of being funneled through. So for instance, you walk in, you get a drink. Oh, there's the photo booth. Oh, here's a table with name tags. Now you go here and get your paddle number. Now you go here and get your table, and now you go in, or something along those lines. So I like it to be before check-in.
Okay.
Because I love to know people's names at check-in. I just think it's so funny when somebody puts on their name tag and then you're like, hey, Bob, what's up? And they're like, how did you know my name? I'm like, because you're wearing it. I mean, it's just, I really love the check-in. I like name tags before check-in, but I do recognize that has to be in a very structured environment.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So I 90% of the reason why I hate name tags is because
You're doing it at check-in.
You're doing it at check-in. Okay, so fair enough. I agree with you there. I still think they're difficult to get right for a lot of
True.
folks. And so, there is a person at this last event who is the name tag reprinter outer.
Yeah, I've had that, yes.
Right, because you have last-minute guest changes. Lori's not coming, so I brought my other friend. And so Kristen's coming now in her place. Can you print out her name tag so no one calls her Lori all night? Yeah, I could do that. Or misspelling of names. Ooh, ouch, happens, right? Missing name tags because the sponsor never filled it in. So it's like, Acme guest 1, Acme guest 2.
I was just going to say, don't call them guest.
Yeah.
Like, just don't make a name tag at that point.
No, just don't. Don't.
Yeah.
So, yes, I could see that. And it just seems like, I don't know. Maybe if our clients would get it better, I remember one event. It was still at check-in, which probably I was still angry and annoyed all at the same time. But they put them all out in alphabetical order. Okay. And you're like, this is going to be so awesome. They're all in alphabetical order. And there's like 200 and something name tags on this table. And then this girl goes, hey, what about these? She pulls out another shoebox, and it's like all the F's and G's, right? And she looks at me, she's like, ugh. I was like, oh, yeah, you missed all the F's and G's. Right in the middle of your table of name tags.
Just leave them in the box. Just leave them in the box at that point. We'll find them later. Now, I mean, if you're going to do name tags, I do agree. You do need to have a name tag printer outer. I liked that title.
Why not on the fly?
Yeah. You
How
can
about
print them
that?
out on the fly. Mm-hmm.
We should add that to our software. What do you think?
Yes.
Along with our new check-in kiosk.
Yes. Like your boarding pass. And my
that.
baggage tickets.
That's
Event
exactly
that
what
we
I
went
want.
Here it
to
comes. Prints it
recently
out.
when they had a little kiosk and you were registered, but you went up and you said, this is who I am, and it spit out your name tag and you clipped it on your little lanyard and you went about your way. They just had somebody there to reload the paper.
It was like a craft project.
So I also
Yes.
there's only one other, and you just brought this up, so I think we should make this point. The other reason why I hate name tags, and I did go to a recent networking event with my wife, who was wearing an outfit that was not conducive to name tag wearing.
Yeah.
The clippy kind. So I'm not you can't stick them on is it polyester or rayon or whatever it is. Those dresses, the name tags fall right off.
Just come
of
right
them.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
Or hair. I can't wear name tags because it gets caught in my hair.
Yes. So please give them a lanyard. Please, if you're going to do name tags, the whole clippy thingy, no.
I like a lanyard. I mean, you are looking at someone's belly to find out their name. You're like,
lanyard
hey.
is fine as long as it's not a dressy event.
I know, but
Or
I mean, if you're going to
costume
do a
event,
dressy
any
event,
sort of-
how are you clipping that thing on your dress?
But no, I think you don't need. I like
just
name
don't-
tags, but
yeah.
I would say don't do a name tag if you're doing any sort of theme or formal
Okay.
or costume type event because
It ruins it.
Fair
it
enough.
ruins the costume.
I hate wearing them as well. Networking events, it makes sense. If you're doing a
Yes.
stewardship event where you're just thanking your donors and you're not raising money or not significant amounts of money, do name tags, okay?
Conference, convention.
Yes. If you're doing to your point, a fundraiser and it's a black tie gala, please don't do them. I don't know. I get it, right?
Yeah.
I know you like them because you want to say Bob when he walks in the door. How
the personal
cool would
touch.
it be? Okay, so you want to talk about how we can get super techie here because we built this in
Ooh, can you flash something on his forehead?
no,
where
I
it
could
says-
put something right on the iPad when he walks in if he had his phone. So
Ooh.
we have not tried this, and this could be kind of creepy and cool all at the same time. But you literally could, if you had the Handbid app on your phone and you walked up near somebody, it could tell you that Lori Mackey just arrived.
I love that.
Yeah. So creepy
like that.
and cool all at the same time. That's what I told you. So anyway, but that is the type of stuff that technology could help you with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. we name tags wasn't even on my list, and we just talked about.
Oh,
name
I
tags.
thought it was on the list. Oh, well.
Well, it was called the contact list check-in with pre-registration, where I don't have to talk to my guests when they arrive, and we talked about how you should talk to your guests when they arrive.
You should talk to them no matter what.
Yes.
Just don't do paddle numbers.
Yeah.
If you don't want to have a check-in process like that, just have really amazing greeters, QR codes, let people mill about, and don't do paddle numbers.
I hear what you're saying, and if you're just doing an auction, that makes sense. I like collecting information at the door.
Yeah.
Because we're going to do a podcast on this, and we're going to bring in a donor development expert who I've known for a while, and I already know what she's going to tell you. She is going to tell you that this is an entry point to a relationship, and you cannot have a relationship with somebody when you don't know how to reach out to them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm just going to make this final point because this came across at this event, but it's come across before. Your guests are not too important to give you their information.
Yep.
They're not too famous. They're not too wealthy. They're not too snobby. They might be too snobby, but I can't control that. But what I can tell you is that wealthy people, famous people expect, they're at a fundraiser, that you're going to be able to connect with them. They expect it. They expect a thank you. Mm-hmm. They expect a reach out. And how do you do that when you're not getting their information?
Yeah.
I mean, and we've been to events. It drives me crazy. You go to these events. I don't want you collecting any information on them. I've pre-registered them with all fake email addresses.
But then
that's going to be fun.
What's the point?
Well, and so the event ends, and these people raise their paddle, or they bid in this auction, and they leave.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, how are we supposed to get a hold of all these people? Well, you should have thought about that when you put fake email addresses in and told us we couldn't collect their phone number, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm sorry, this is going to sound snarky, but it really kind of becomes your problem, and it shouldn't, right? You could have solved this problem up front. I've checked in famous people. You've checked in famous people. They're gracious. And guess what? If they don't want to give you their info, they're not going to register.
Or they'll send their assistant over.
Yeah.
I've had that happen multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their assistant.
Yeah. I checked in Pat
fine.
Sajak. He gave me his info. He wanted to be participating in this fundraiser. He had no problem checking in with us.
I do agree with you, Jeff. I mean, I talk to people about this all the time when we do check-in training and stuff. Make the assumption in your mind up front that people are coming to your event to give. Mm-hmm. They are coming to your event to give to you because they love you. So you want to provide that opportunity.
Yep.
So don't shirk away from it. Fall into it. Just embrace it.
So and that's a good segue into our next thing, because we've been talking about collecting data, and you can't collect data or you can't do anything with data you don't collect. We get this question, this came up again, about CRM integration. Do you guys integrate with CRMs, or, should my mobile bidding company integrate with a CRM? And the answer is maybe.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? I mean, the first thing that comes out of my mind, what are you going to do with that information? So sure, you want to synchronize contacts so check-in's easier because you can look them up out of your Salesforce database? Great, okay? Or you want to synchronize all those transactions out of Handbid or your mobile bidding platform into your CRM? Great. What else are you going to do with the data? Because, if you're actually going to take it into your CRM and then say, Lori Mackay attended this event. Lori Mackay bid on these items. Lori Mackay checked into this event. She bought this ticket. She donated this amount of money. All of that is valuable information only if you do something with it.
Yeah.
Besides sending them a tax receipt, events become an entry point to a relationship, and it's called a CRM because it is a customer relationship management tool. So it's the relationship part. It's not a customer reporting tool. It does that, but it's a relationship management tool. So it is important that you think about how am I using that information? So is it important that your mobile bidding platform integrate with your CRM? At one level, sure. Your finance and accounting people probably want it to. But beyond that, your donor development people should really want it to.
Yeah.
If you're going to use that data. So
Agreed.
Anyway, that came up from one of our readers, and so we wanted to cover that. And
so the answer to that is yes, we do.
Yes.
We,
yes, our software
all of
does. But again, we still ask the question, what are you doing with that info? And again, we will dive deeper into this because this question's come up, and we're going to do a separate podcast on it, which is specifically what is the role of events in the overall donor development program, or how you're going to nurture and grow through different fundraising channels. It plays a role in that, and we'll talk about that in future one. Okay, I got two more on the list here. I can't check them off. I wish I could. The solutions table. So this was brought up in a former podcast, and people want us to dive a little bit more into this solutions table. So do you want to talk a little bit, Lori, about what you call the solutions table?
Yes. So at events, I love to have a spot where there is somebody who's well-versed in the software, not just the back end of manager or the back end of the software, which is important, but also the end user experience. So whoever you have that is personable and that understands what it looks like from the end user's perspective to navigate the software, you want to create a space for them to answer questions for people. That also allows the check-in people to push them along out of check-in, because inevitably there is always the person who you'll check them in, you'll send them a login link, and then they're trying to figure out their Apple ID. And they're downloading their app, and they're just standing there. They won't leave check-in until they're completely set up because they're a little nervous about a new platform. So for those people, you can just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to say, Bob, you can just head right over here, and Kristen can help you out with that. She's there just for that, to get you all set up.
Not just the software. You even have bidders that will come to the check-in volunteers who only know how to check people in or print them a name tag. Hopefully they've already had their name tag, Lori. But people who, I want to bid on this item in the live auction. When is that happening? Or I'm supposed to be part of the program after this video highlight. And again, those are great questions, but they're holding up the line. So to have somebody who's well-versed in the software, the registration and check-in process, but also the event as a whole.
I agree, the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of our Handbid staff actually had to go replace toilet paper in the bathroom last weekend because she was sitting at the solutions table.
And that was the solution for the moment.
And so when a guest came out and said, there's no toilet paper in the women's bathroom, and you're a problem solver, you go find it. But
right.
I think it is what you said is important. So yeah, they might need to know how to use the software. In a lot of cases, they're asking a question about the event, or they're asking a question about, are you validating parking? Or where do I check my code? Or I don't want to sit with the Mac guys. I'm sorry.
Or I'm a checkout volunteer. Where do I go? What do I do?
Right.
Oh,
Volunteer
volunteers.
check-in.
You're right. Like volunteers
Perfect.
come in the door and they're like, what do I do? Like, look, if you guys are going to ask someone to volunteer, tell them who to find and ask for when they get there. Okay, because they usually come to the check-in staff. I'm like, are you here to check in? Yes, I am. They are here to check in.
Yeah.
Just not for the event, for the volunteer side. And you're like getting their name and finally like, wait a second. She's like, oh no, I'm not here to check in as a guest. I'm here as a volunteer. Oh, volunteer check-ins over there. Okay.
That's a perfect thing to have at Solutions.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Betty, I see you are serving drinks. So
Right.
you're to be here at 5 o'clock. Enjoy yourself. Check back in at 5 o'clock.
Betty, you are here and you were supposed to be replenishing the toilet paper in the bathroom
Betty?
and you're 2 hours late.
Betty?
No, it is important to do that.
Yeah.
And name tag is a solutions issue. Table assignments, where am I sitting, is a solutions issue. Three of my guests aren't coming. I need to give you new names. That's a solutions issue. I mean, you can have the check-in staff do it, and if it's not busy, they probably will. If it's super busy and it's going to take a little bit of time to get people kind of moved around, just have someone at a laptop in a corner that can kind of handle those escalations. We call them escalations, right?
Yeah, escalations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And look, the other night I did help a guy with his phone. He had been bidding on the web all day and had downloaded the Handbid app and wanted to transition to the Handbid app and had kind of lost a couple steps along the way. He'd not. They gave him some instructions that they wanted him to do, and there was a couple of things in there that got skipped. So we got him up and running in, less than a minute. But it was just because someone at check-in said, "Hey, will you help this guy?" He came to me with a problem. Like, I checked him in. He's all good. He's paddle whatever. Can you get him set up on his phone? Yes. So I like that.
And a solutions table is a great way for your staff or your key volunteer team to really have eyes on what's happening with your guests when they first arrive. So that would be a good position for a development coordinator or events coordinator to be, just to even see how they're interacting with the line and how your volunteers that you've assigned to check in are doing and what kinds of questions people have, so that when you do your debrief for next year, you know how to pivot and how to create a better experience for your guests.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Love it.
Okay, we only have one more.
Okay.
So this came up in a conversation we had recently, and so a number of us attended an event here in Denver, and it was enough different than what we're used to that we said this is just an interesting topic. And the topic was, this is a fundraiser that it's not terribly expensive to go to. I mean, it's not the cheapest thing. I think a ticket was $150, but it's not terribly expensive to attend. There's thousands of people at it. They're raising money. They've done a tremendous job with sponsorship. And so I believe the sponsorships cover the food, the drink, and the venue rental and security and all that kind of stuff. So I think the ticket sales go directly to the charity. But what was interesting as we're sitting there kind of enjoying this event was there's probably a huge number of people here who don't realize this is the charity. And if they do, they probably don't know what the charity does. So we were like, so what's better? Is it better to have 300 people, 400 people come to your event that are all donating or buying $1,000, $2,000 tables or donating tens of thousands of dollars, hopefully? Or would you rather run an event where you've got 5,000 people showing up paying $100? I mean, I don't know, but it was a new one for us. And so we thought we would bring it up because I think for some people, it creates a different angle. It's almost like a different business model for your event. I'm going to do enough here to remind people this is a charity. It'll make their ticket for whatever it's worth tax deductible. But at the same time, I'm really going for numbers over, intimacy, I guess. Mm-hmm. Have you been to an event like that?
I mean, more concert events.
Yeah. Concert
events can be like that, where there's a big headliner concert and you might not quite know what they're raising money for, but it's just a big event. But I don't really know, Jeff. I mean, I lean towards the more casual event anyway, so I have a tendency to lean a little bit more towards a larger, more casual event like that than I would a formal just 200 to 300 of your biggest donors, because I like the community aspect. But I think where they could improve potentially is really having that moment to talk about the charity and what it is at a time that would be most received, probably earlier in the evening.
Well, let's see what comes out of this. Let's see if I get an email.
Yeah.
Right, for the tickets that we bought and kind of what the charity decides to do with that information and kind of where they go with it. But again, hats off to them. They did a tremendous, the event was a blast. Okay. It felt more like a party than a fundraiser. Although I think in a lot of ways, your fundraiser should feel like a party. It should be fun. Check-in was smooth. There was nothing to do, right? Would I change some aspects of how they engage with people in the audience? Yes, I would. Biasly, I think I have some technology ideas and it's advice for them. But outside of that, I mean, I think it was a great event. And I'm throwing it out there on this podcast because I think for some people who are trying to figure out, what do I do or what do I change? And we had the same conversation, right? We ran a derby event for years, and it was a more intimate one. I mean, I would say the average person at our derby event was paying anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in terms of total spend at our event, and we'd have 300 to 400 people come. Now, we talked about, do we ever turn that into something where we're just charging a $100 ticket and use sponsorships to cover the overall expenses and see what we make out of it? Can you drive that amount of sales or not? When we moved our derby event to a concert, we had the same conversation. Do we just bring in a headliner band, get all their fans to come, sell a cheap ticket? Maybe it's not open bar, or maybe it's open bar till we run out of what was donated. I don't know. But we decided to kind of keep it intimate. But I do think that for some folks out there trying to think about what could I do that's different than what I've been doing, maybe this is an angle. If you feel like you've got the marketing chutzpah.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
That's the trick with that event in particular, because it is pretty much a great marketing tool in a really cool part of town,
right,
and a lot of people want to go.
Right.
So you do have a big reach, which is what I really think is cool about an event like that. You have a big reach, but you also have to put a lot of work in up front to get the people in the door, to get them to know about the party of the year or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the last thing we had in our grab bag. Do you ladies have any parting thoughts about anything else? Last words? Oh my God, the two people in Handbid that love to get the last word have no last words. I don't believe that.
No, I just think I encourage people to think outside the box. Do something a little bit different at your event. Do something that's going to be a touch that's just more casual, a little bit more relaxing.
Okay. You have a parting thought?
I agree. And if there's one thing we've learned on the podcast so far, it's don't be afraid to pivot in the moment and take care of the people who are at your event.
Yeah. And talk to them. Don't let them walk in the door, grab their name tag, and sit down, whatever you do. Greet them, thank them for being there. Make sure their email address is right. They will appreciate that so they get their invoice at the end of the night. I think all of those things are important. And I think what you do with that information on the other side of the event is equally important. So think about that when you're thinking about how you streamline your check-in. But, okay, fun mailbag, grab bag
Closed.
episode.
Opened.
Open, closed. Okay.
Send us your questions.
Yes. Write us a review. And definitely subscribe to this podcast if you're listening to it. Recommend to your friends that they listen to it. We appreciate your input and your feedback. And until next time, best of luck in your fundraising events.